Greetings, my lords and ladies. We're going to prepare to do the 11. We're going to call it meditation for 5D, or otherwise known as fifth density. The Law 1, folks would call it fourth density. Kind of speaking similar languages here. Basically, we're talking about upper densities. That as you raise your vibration to a more loving vibration, to the frequency of love, that some of the other things fall away and simply do not exist, such as strife, conflict, you know, predatory behaviors, predatory organizations, practices of all manners just don't exist in those upper densities in the same way. I mean, there may be conflict, quote unquote, but it's not going to be as it is here with the type of violence and that sort of thing. So you might see conflict in terms of disagreements, but the way the disagreements are going to play out are going to be much, much different. So, entities, beings that exist, cultures, civilizations that exist in these upper densities, in terms of, let's just say, fifth density, are by nature loving. You simply cannot incarnate there unless your energy, your consciousness is to that point, to that level. You're sort of done with playing out dramas and things that we see played out here, sometimes in our own selves and on larger scales as well, which I know many of you could cite examples of what those are. But we won't get into that so much as get down to what this meditation is about, which you saw Dr. Bruce Lipton describe aspects of what, in my mind, a fifth density civilization would be like. Liken it to the garden and that kind of thing. So, for the next 11 minutes here at 11 o'clock, we're gonna together meditate on those concepts. So the idea is I'll guide you here, offer you some images, but we're going to bring forth concepts, images, ideas, scenarios that would be reflective of such a 5D culture, a 5D civilization. So that should be fun, And as with any other type of mindfulness meditation, when you get distracted, when you go off on other types of thoughts, etc., redirect your attention. Be gentle with yourself, redirect your attention back to the task at hand, back to the image at hand. And so we'll work with the imagery, we'll visualize it. That's our intention, right, to do that. And then allow the emotions to flow that come with those images, the intention, the images, the ideas. Allow the emotions to come up that go with that. Perhaps feelings of peace, excitement, kind of a healthy, grounded excitement, maybe a relaxation, goodwill, that kind of thing that would go with this idea of this community, this sort of the garden on earth, as it will. Sort of on a large scale, community fashion. So let's as we approach 11 o'clock, let's join our thoughts together with this intention. Let's work with these images, these ideas. Let's bring them forth for the next 11 minutes, and let's allow the positive emotions that naturally go along with that to usher forth from us. Stick with it, redirect your attention as necessary, and carry it forward into your day. Bring forth those ideas and the related emotions with you into your day, and as you do that, as you step into this vibration yourself, the emotions, again, the intention, the visual imagery, the ideas that go along with that, the emotions that follow. The emotions follow next. And then fourth, the actions. What are the next actions that you're going to take that usher forth from these emotions, from these ideas and emotions? What are the actions? So right now, here's one of them. Together we sit down and meditate. This is one of the actions. So let's co-create this heaven on earth, if you will, and get right to it. All right. So let's let our eyes close and begin to notice the breath. Counting 3 breaths. Bringing attention to the body, to the spine, base of the spine, tracing up the spine, correcting the posture, releasing tension and pressure up the back, up the spine, all the way up through the neck and head, lining the ears up with the shoulders so that your head isn't fighting against gravity. Counting 3 breaths. Calling forth, inviting the energy of love into all of our minds, into all of our hearts, to our entire astral and physical bodies. The energy of love to be present, to come forth with a conscious invitation from all of us into our minds, into our hearts. And count 3 breaths. Now begin by, let's just imagine a neighborhood. Maybe it's a neighborhood you grew up in. Maybe it's your friend's neighborhood. Maybe it's the neighborhood you live in now. Maybe it's a neighborhood you visited once that stood out in your mind. Something that is pleasant, inviting. Some sort of neighborhood comes up for you. Pleasant and inviting. Imagining the people there, the houses, the streets. Let's imagine it sort of being a weekend. A lot of people are off their jobs, their things that they do on a regular basis. They've got some free time, and so it's like a weekend. And let's imagine how things would be different in this new, positive 5D situation, this garden situation. And let's literally start to imagine gardens. So whereas people had lots of grass, lots of yard everywhere, let's imagine that they've transformed those yards into more garden spaces. They're growing their own food. And people are out working in their gardens. So instead of lawns with grass, maybe a little grass, but it's mostly food and flowers. People are aware of their connection to all of life, including the pollinators, which are bees, which are wasps, which are yellow jackets. Those are all pollinators. All those stinging insects pollinate, every single one, not just bees. They're aware of that too. They're not discriminating. They planted flowers for those pollinators because they know how things are interconnected. They're using organic fertilizers. There's no harmful insecticides or herbicides at all. It's all organic, it's all biodynamic. And they are working in those gardens. They're making them more beautiful. Neighbors seeing each other's gardens, out working in their respective yards, growing different things, growing different root vegetables. Some people grow tomatoes. Some people have lots of sunflowers. Some people have grapes, vines strung up. Lots and lots of food and lots of flowers just throughout everyone's yard, everyone in this neighborhood, on this block, and the block across the street, and the block across the street from that. Every single person, this is part of their pastime. And imagine just these gardens of food and flowers, pollinators everywhere. People are happy about it. They're not scared. They're not scared of the bees or the wasps. They're not saying shoo, go away. They're relaxed because they know how helpful they are. They're relaxed about it. And the insects can feel it. They can feel that electromagnetic frequency of a relaxed auric field. Because there's been public education campaigns about this. There's the Pollinator Awareness Month, the Pollinator Appreciation Month. People appreciate the insects. They celebrate the insects that help us, that help the earth. And just imagine almost everybody on the planet, not just in this neighborhood, but in this town, in this state, in the entire country, and across the whole world have now become consciously aware of this. And everyone is growing gardens in their homes, in their yards, in their communities. And they're spending a day or two a week, a couple of hours a week, a couple hours a day rather, nurturing these gardens. And in the spring months and the seasonal times, let's just, instead of imagining just weekly local farmers markets, let's imagine weekly neighborhood farmers markets. People in the neighborhood are gathering maybe at a certain spot, having their own little farmers market. And then another day of the week, there's the larger town or county farmers market as well. So just a culture of farmers markets have sprung up where people share. Maybe in the neighborhood they're sharing, they're trading the different sauerkrauts they've made over the winter. Some people have the root vegetables, some people have the flowers, more of the flowers, some people have more of the grapes and the tomatoes. Some people have maybe some honey. Some people have beverages they've made at home. People are just trading in the neighborhood farmers market. Now let's imagine community parks on the earth. So now the parks have also changed where there's more flowers for the pollinators. And maybe there's, in each community, maybe the community schools go, and it's the job of the children with the teachers to go and plant those community parks and tend to those parks. It's part of their education, where they're starting to learn how to farm, to take care of flowers, and planting their gardens at the schools also. But maybe it's the children's job, with the helps of their teachers and their parents, to go and plant the parks. Maybe a few more rows of flowers. You still have your soccer fields and your football fields and things like that, but maybe there's just a lot more flowers. winding paths of flowers. Fruit trees are being planted for the people if they want to have an apple. That's just happening everywhere. That's the model for every park in every city, in every town, in every state, across the country and across the world. That's become a community standard, and that's being built up now. And just imagine that. People, kids playing, the people walking, with fruit trees starting to grow, more flowers. And not only is there a pollinator and insect appreciation month, there's maybe an earthworm appreciation month. Where people imagine the creatures of the soil, the little bacteria, the earthworms that nourish our planet and our soil. People are becoming more and more aware of the symbiosis and what we're pouring into the ground and the earth, not wanting to harm those creatures. So we're thinking about them. So let's just take a few breaths and just feel that, notice that imagery. Work with that imagery, these ideas, and notice what emotions come up. And let's imagine now that the world is still connected and we've shifted into innovative, much more innovative thinking, where there aren't these special interests, quote unquote. Rather, we've done away with all of that. We have a thriving, fairly large world population, as big as it is now, but we have free energy technologies. Keep in mind, folks, the first electric car came out in 1832, and that was changed and suppressed because of special interests. So imagine that being done away with, and imagine some of the technologies that would be able to thrive and come out to the marketplace with even backyard garage inventors, physicists, people, now that these systems of repression and control are gone and dissipating, people are able to put forth new innovations, new technologies. So the wireless technologies that we're using are done in frequencies that are not harmful to life. We figured out other ways to send signals, to information signals that aren't harmful to life. The police scanner frequency has changed so that it's not harmful to life. It doesn't interfere with brainwave patterns. It does not interfere with insects. All those technologies are no longer harmful to life because innovation has been allowed to flourish. Not only from folks in the universities, but just everybody, the backyard inventors, people who have done things in their garage in their free times. Young children even, adolescents, have come up with things. And are now seeing the light of day, and we're having clean modes of transportation. People are free to go as they come and go as they please. And the world is connected. So people come over from India to visit the United States and appreciate the gardens here. And talk about how they're growing their gardens. And that's one of the common languages of the earth at this point, is how people are growing food and feeding each other as a community. Such an abundance, an overabundance of food. So much so that the raccoons and the possums and the deer, they can come through and eat some apples and eat some stuff out of the garden, and people like that. There's no killing of these creatures. We're all living in harmony and abundance. Because of these free energies and this new technology, they're able to desalinate seawater because it's cost effective now because of the way we can generate electricity. because of all the innovation. And people are growing things all over the world in clean, sustainable ways with nature. Eco forestry model, eco farming models, where again the creatures come onto the farms, they're part of the process. There's no pest control, there's no poisons, there's no overfishing of the oceans. We're growing food, we're getting our proteins in other ways. We're having to harm other creatures. No more factory farms. No more mass slaughter of animals. No more animal testing. Imagine that. Because we're so innovative and creative. We're not harming things anymore. It's been phased out. And people's immune systems are strong and healthy because of all the fresh produce that's available. A lot of people are growing it right in their yards, right in their neighborhoods. And there's so much of it. Because it's become the pastime of, let's say, 75% of people have some kind of pastime like this, where they're spending a few hours a week co-contributing. So people are getting sun. People have high levels of D3. The ozone layer is healed because we've changed the way production works. We're using free, clean energy technologies now on a widespread, implemented basis. People are implementing those things. Let's just work with these ideas, these thoughts, and what comes up for you emotionally. As you imagine these communities of people growing food in their yards, every single neighborhood across the country and across the world is doing this. And sharing with each other because there's so much, you couldn't possibly eat it all. People gather for meditations in the parks at least once a week to give gratitude and appreciation for the interconnectedness of all life and all forms of life. That we are getting a greater and greater awareness of how all these forms of life work together for the common benefit. Oh, and there's no more spraying lawns for dandelions, believe that. They're just eating those dandelions. Understanding that dandelions lower anxiety in human beings. That dandelions are very, very nutritious. So we're not trying to get rid of those at all. Let's just count some breaths together here as we just let those ideas, those images flow, and the emotions that go with them come up in us. And let's count the next 3 breaths. And let's count another 3 breaths. Now to the next several breaths, let's let our eyes begin to open. Coming back to the room, the physical space that we're in. Staying with our breath, staying with those positive emotions, those ideas that came up. As we slowly let our eyes move around the room. So those are just some basic ideas. That's some of the stuff that came up for me. That, well, gosh, it really feels good to think about that, and it's possible. I'll tell you what. So let's hold that vision from that basic vision of the gardens and that kind of thing. Let's see what else comes up, and the technologies and the cooperation with people, and um, let's see what else comes from that. Let's stay with those ideas, your own positive ideas that come from that, and the emotions that come from it. Carry that forward into your day. Bring up those images. Bring up those ideas. Make that your intention to do that every single day. And it's been put forth, by Dr. Lipton and his colleagues to do this at 11 and 11 p.m., 11 a.m. For the next few days. Let's keep that going and carry it forward into your day. This is how we create and manifest. He talks about quantum physics and so forth. Those are the principles we're enacting here, and we will create that world. In spite of what some other wackadoodles want us to, they're trying to get us to create. So we're not going to do that. We're going to create, a world of love, not a world of fear. So, call that stuff up, and let's do it together. As we do it together, we make that wave, that field, even stronger. So, I'll see you out there this spring, planting some gardens, and let's plant those gardens in our minds and in our hearts, and let's let the emotions flow that come with these thoughts and these ideas, and put that out there into the ethers, and let's connect in the ethers, with these thoughts and with these emotions, and keep strong with that. And I hope we can do a Facebook or a YouTube live, or a Facebook live or whatever at 11 one of these days, and do one of these meditations live together. But I've been practicing here at 11, watching this, and we'll see you out there in the ethers either way, next time 11 o'clock rolls around. So let's keep it up, folks. Skull.